Hey everybody, what's going on? Baro here, back inside of Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and today, I've got my Handsome Jack build guide for you all today. Now, this has taken some time to put out because I wanted to make sure that my build was as solid as possible before actually releasing it. Because I like to make sure that my build pretty much can beat the entire game and then some. And I'm looking forward into additional UVHM patches and things like that, so I want to make sure that the build is as solid as it can be. So today we're going to be taking a look at Handsome Jack and his build. The gear that he's going to be using is fairly simplistic, and I am going to be spec'd into Money is Power for the gameplay. However, I will not be showing off what 999 stacks looks like unless you all want to see that. You can let me know in the comment section below because basically end up one-shotting everything. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the build. First off, we've got Collaborate, which gives me 10% weapon damage and 10% Digijack damage for every time that a Jack dies. So you can see here that when I summon a Jack, his health will slowly start to go down. And this can stack up to 10 times, giving me 100% weapon damage while my action skill is active. Now you can see that when he dies, I get that stack, but that can take some time to accumulate. So a method to get your stacks up faster is to actually just run around, because after a short amount of distance, they will automatically kill themselves, and because I'm spec'd into Best Foot Forward, they will constantly regenerate their actual action skill duration. So just by moving around a little bit at the start of my action skill, I now have 10 stacks to Collaborate. So I have 100% extra damage going into the fight by just moving around, and my action skill is still at full. So that's why we spec into Collaborate, and why we spec into Best Foot Forward. Next we have Synergy for a little bit of weapon damage and critical hit damage. Not really much to say about that other than just it's a cool buff. We also have Teamwork for some health regeneration, as this will be the main source of your health regeneration as Jack. And if we look here, I currently have 3 stacks of Teamwork from having my Jacks killed, and that will give me 15% of my maximum health every second, which is a lot of health regen. Now we throw 1 point into Winning for a little bit of movement speed bonus and some shield capacity. People might ask, why didn't you go into Diversify, Commitment, or Accountability? I don't find Diversify to be that much of a damage increase. Commitment doesn't do much because even though you get some fire rate and reload speed, that's kind of negligible for how much you actually get, and considering the buff only lasts 6 seconds, it's not really worth it. And then Accountability doesn't do much either because it's just fire rate and reload speed, which is stuff we don't need. However, putting 1 point in Willing is very important because we are going to be using a Reogenator Shield. And whenever a Reogenator Shield depletes itself, that elemental resistance is no longer active. However, if I regenerate my shield by just a tiny portion, then that elemental resistance will kick back in, which is why we spec into a slight health or slight shield regen. Next we go into Believe for some weapon damage and a little bit of accuracy. And then we put 1 point into Leadership, so that way whenever a Jack dies, it will proc Synergy, Collaborate, Teamwork, Winning, and Believe. That's a lot of things proccing whenever a Jack dies, and considering you can force them to die, is really good. We don't go into Potential because that doesn't really do much in terms of damage. Delegation isn't really needed because you will be killing enemies before they can even attack you. And Optimism doesn't really do much either because the explosion won't be hitting enemies, you will. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and look at Free Enterprise now. So we go into high frequency trading so that way we can swap between our 2 weapons quickly. That way we can go from either Shock with Ice or Ice with Shock, depending on how we want to do it. Or if you want to add in different weapons, you can possibly put in a Jacob's weapon and get an extra weapon damage bonus. But either way, being able to swap between all your buffs is nice. The rate of fire is kind of cool to have, but not exactly necessary. I put it in here because there's nowhere else to really put in points. Compound interest doesn't really interest me because it doesn't really do that much. Next we have Marginal Benefit with a 90% chance that whenever you throw a grenade, you have a chance to completely reload your magazine, which is honestly kind of awesome considering that we're going to be using a cryo grenade for debuffs, so you can hit the enemy, throw a grenade, and keep hitting the enemy again. And because the percentage is so high, you're almost always going to be reloading your mag every time you throw a grenade because of the Celestial Doppelganger. So next we obviously have Money is Power for that increased 249% 249.75% if you need to be exact, damage increase, which will make this game extremely easy when you stack this up. The best places to stack this up is at the Iridian Guardians or RK5. I was able to stack this up to 999 very quickly at RK5. Now we skip over Company Man because not a lot of our gear is going to be Hyperion. In fact, it's going to be Malawan, Anshin, Ladoff, Edior, and one Hyperion item. So going into Company Man is not going to be that useful for the extra 2% crit, or 5 or 10% if I spec it in fully. Merger is nice, but because I'm not going to be really using it that much over the Rosie, I don't really pick it up. Laser Surplus does not do that much. The Cone of Lasers is not that great. And we don't need Supply and Demand because we already have all of the health regeneration that we'll need from Teamwork. And then Taxation of Trade Routes is not that useful either because, again, we don't really need the fire rate. And then finally we have Sponsored By, which is whenever you swap from a gun to another gun, you will have a different effect pop up. So if I switch from Dahl to a different weapon, I'll get 50% damage reduction, Hyperion 30% accuracy, Jacob's 30% weapon damage, Malawan 25% of your damage is done as elemental, Scav, magazine increase, Edior, reload increase, Torg 25% as explosive, and then Vladoff 35% rate of fire. I like to have Malawan or Torg because it's actually 25% of the damage that you deal rather than just increasing your damage by 30%. So I find that kind of useful. So another thing that's nice about Malawan is that if you swap from an ice to a shock element weapon, you will now have shock and ice on the same element, which is really nice. So that is pretty much everything that we're going to be using for our spec. Let's go ahead and quickly go over our gear. We're going to be using the Thorny Old Rosie in Ice and Shock variants. That way we can have double element. In case anything actually does survive more than a second, I can freeze it and get extra critical damage on it. We do have quads in here just because why the hell not, even though Torg or Malawan is still better. Just in case you want to have a nice little build. The reason we have Ryogenator is because of that 86% elemental resistance. Celestial Doppelganger for all the different buffs, and that you can potentially increase your weapon accuracy. After a little bit, you'll notice that the beam actually starts to stabilize quite a bit. And because of the infinite ammo, you can get a very accurate beam after holding down the trigger for a long period of time. And this kind of counteracts the whole negative of the Rosie, which is that it will eventually become so inaccurate that it's hard to use. But because of this buff, it's perfectly accurate. You're turning your weapon into a railgun. It's just constant railgun, which is really nice. Then we have the Tranquility for a little bit of gun damage, and the Longbow Cryo for some debuffs. That is pretty much everything about this spec and all that goes into it. Now we're going to be switching over to some gameplay. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this build. Let me know in the comments section below. Do you enjoy it? There will be a save file for those who want to use it themselves and all of that good stuff. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, help support me in what I do, and don't forget to subscribe for future content. I'll catch you all in the next one, everybody. Enjoy the gameplay.
I need backup! And the world just got 25% more handsome. Crash my shield! Well, this sucks! Full assault! Your sacrifice is appreciated. One down, one up. Jack here, the real one. Not supposed to be like this. Leadership! Your sacrifice is appreciated. To the last. Good kill, Other Jack. If you see this face, run! God damn it! And the world just got 25% more handsome. Feeling the chill? One down, one up. Let's kill some bad guys. Your sacrifice is appreciated.
Jack here, the real one.
Good minion.
Who needs a hero?
Leadership. Stay put. You get it? 'Cause he's...
For the Colonel and the Legion! There's our way! For the Legion! Oh, hell, I'm sorry.
Now you're stuck with that dumb look on your face.
Jack here, the real one.
Good minion.
Let's kill some bad guys.
One down, one up.
Covering fire! Too strong is not gonna accept! I died for my squad mate!
Wrong Jack, sucker. This is what happens when you cross Hyperion.
More handsome.
Good minion. Leadership.
Who needs a hero?
Good minion.
And the world just got 25%. Who needs a hero?
Invincible! Well, this sucks!
Why aren't you running?
Just got 25%
Oh, it's
more
good to be
handsome.
rich. Your sacrifice is appreciated. Good minion.
We're coming for you! You're gonna eat it!
I mean,